Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast. And this is show number 213 for the 10th of June 2018.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my good friend Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Coming up on this podcast, we're hopping over to Disneyland Paris, and I have a very special guest to come and talk Disney with you. In the meantime, let me take a moment of your time to remind you of our social media links. We can be found on Instagram and Twitter at DisDreamGirls. Facebook, just give us a search, Disney Dream Girls, hit like, and then you'll be able to take part in all the fun, games and competitions that we have over there. If you haven't done already, why not leave us an iTunes review? It's ever so simple. Type in Disney Dream Girls, click review, and then type away. And it'll give me and Jane a big old smile on our face to get a 5-star review. If you have a question or comment about the podcast, you can email us info@disneydreamgirls.com. Last but not least, we have our very own website and blog. Just go to disneydreamgirls.com and you'll find show notes, pictures and lots more. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the show. And our first port of call, as always, is the wonderful Kieran with This Week in Disney History.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Disney History. On the 10th of June, 1895, actress Hattie McDaniel was born. Her Disney credit was playing Aunt Tempe in Song of the South. Can't picture her? She was also Mammy in Gone with the Wind, a film she won an Oscar for. Moving on to the 11th of June, and in 1928, Disney's Oswald the Lucky Rabbit short, Skyscrapers, was released, and also in 1977, the Walt Disney World version of the Main Street Electrical Parade debuted. Now to the 12th of June 1928, and it's a small world after all, as American songwriter Richard Sherman was born in Manhattan. Happy 90th birthday. On to the 14th of June, and this day has a trio of ride attraction openings. In 1959, the very first USA-based urban monorail transportation system opened in Disneyland. Additionally, the Matterhorn bobsleds attraction opened, and the third and final opening was for the submarine voyage. These headline attractions are a wide range of California residents in the park, such as actor and later in his life President of the USA Ronald Reagan and actress Hayley Mills. Whilst dedicated on the 14th of June, these attractions did not open to the general public until the following day. On to the 15th of June in 1967, the exclusive members club, Club 33, opened at 33 Royal Street in New Orleans Square. Walt, back in the day, entertained the influential in this club. However, it is still in existence today for those with deep pockets and that are able to meet their membership costs, and also wait for memberships to open up. Final one for this show is that on the 16th of June 2016, Shanghai Disney officially opened. And there we go, a serious episode. Back to you, bye-bye.
Well, hello to this fun-filled Disney episode of the Disney Dream Girls, and I have with me my very good friend, how can I put this? How can I introduce him with the magnitude of the personality that belongs to this person? Because he is, in my opinion, that's a clue, Mr. Disney. He is Mark Petar from IMDO Podcast. Hello there, Mark.
That's a pretty big introduction.
Well, you have the personality. And I'm sorry, after last weekend, you surely have increased your fan base with the amazing outfits you wore in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, did have quite a few people asking me where I bought my shirt from and looking quite disappointed when I said I made it. They all said, oh, amazing job, but they was like, oh, we can't buy one.
Let me start from the beginning, because everyone's going to be going, what's she on about with his clothes? Let me just start. Okay, so last weekend was the Disneyland Paris Fandaze event. And Mark is an annual pass holder and he thinks nothing of hopping over to DLP for brunch. I know, because he took me once. And they announced this big event and Mark was adamant he was going to be one of the people who paid for one of the extra events for it. But he was adamant he was going to go to DLP's Fandaze.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark, for those of us who didn't know a great deal about the event, what was Fandaze?
Fandaze, it's called the inaugural party, and honestly, we still don't know exactly what Fandaze is, because we got the impression at the very beginning that no Fandaze party would be the same. Obviously, this one was very character-based, but we still don't know whether the next Fandaze will be the same in a year's time. Even the cast, they're going, well, we've been told it's going to be another one in 2 months, it's going to be another one in 6 months, it's going to be a year, annual thing. There's so much confusion still as to what Fandaze actually is, if it's always this sort of thing, or if it's going to be an ever-changing, ever-evolving, like the next one could focus purely on food, or purely on shopping, or no one really knows. We're guessing now that this is Fandaze as an event and it is characters with a little bit of shopping, a little bit of food. But what it was this time was 6 hours, and it's unbelievable to say it's 6 hours because it was over so fast, of character meets, a dance party parade that happened 3 times, a massive stage show that happened twice. I can't remember exactly how many were, but I think it was like 35 character meet spots and then roaming characters as well. There was animation panels, there was a Duffy panel, there was an Imagineering panel that happened in, and then a Kathleen Powell sort of speech as well. The whole thing was it's fun to be a fan, and it tried to offer something for everyone because obviously the attractions were open as well with minimal queuing. I think Crush was walk on, and that probably tells you how spread out everyone was. We don't know exactly yet. We think it was sort of 5,000 to 6,000 people in the studios that night, but the time flew by and it was a great time.
Okay, so that's a quick intro to Fandaze. So it was announced, Matt got himself sorted, and Disney, to enhance this event, announced a whole series of different upcharge events that you could have booked and paid for. Is that a pretty good description of them?
There were packages. I mean, one of the things is we didn't know a whole lot going into it. The information was sketchy at best. Sometimes some things we knew a lot about, some things we knew very little about. And what we've said is it'd be great if you could buy a ticket and then select your upcharges to create your own package. Whereas what they did was they created their own packages and said, here's what you can get. And actually, I would have liked to dip into some of the others as well and taken that add-on and that add-on and that add-on. But what they did in the end, they had the Ultimate Fantasia package, which was the top package, which isn't the one I was on. And that included a gala dinner and a VIP area for food during the actual event and a special bit of merch, which wasn't anything special, to be honest. I'm trying to think what else was in part of the Fantasia package. That might have been it. Then there was character packages, and there was a premium level and an exclusive level in them, and then there was dining packages and there was a premium and exclusive level in them, and then there was park packages and there was a premium and exclusive level in them, or there was a standard ticket.
And we know from past experiences of having Mark on the show that he is a character nut. Am I correct?
Yeah, I like a character meet.
He loves a character meet. I've never known anybody who would queue for 7 hours to meet characters, and Mark would probably do that if it was rare enough.
I've done 4 to 5 before.
See, point proven. So Mark had his name on this ticketed meet for the character package. So to buy your package for the characters, how did you go about doing that? I'm presuming it was just via the internet.
No, it was call-in.
Oh, wow.
It was calling to the phone line, except we were on hold. Well, to get through to a person took an hour and a half on hold. And what had actually happened was their system had gone down and wasn't able to sell the packages. What each operator was doing was holding a person or what that was willing to hold for longer and then taking their details, meanwhile popping off every 2 minutes to tell the next person in queue, sorry, everything that's down, call back later. So what they were doing is they were holding one person, and I was one of those people on one of the phone lines. And what basically we did was we each, because I know other people that are on the same situation, we each said what package we wanted, how many days, how many people, etc., etc., etc. What they eventually told us after being on hold for about 3 hours, I think it was that there's no way this is coming up anytime soon. But they've got all the details and they'll phone us back and we'll be one of the first people because they'll phone us before they start taking calls. Great. Now, what appears to be happened is some of the operators phoned the people back and then took all the details. I was very lucky in that my operator actually kept all the details, put all the details in, and then phoned me. So she already had what I wanted reserved and was just phoned me to take the payment, whereas others went through it all again. And actually, by the time they'd gone through it all again, answered the phone, gone through it all, I'd already snagged that package, which there's a bit of confusion. We was told, it originally said 16 places. In the end, the event that was for 16 people had 37 in it. So we think either they cocked up big time, or it was 16 packages and not 16 places. But I don't care because I was there. So for those who actually, their operator didn't book it first and then call them, they actually most of them got the premium package, whereas I got very, very lucky in that my operator put my details in straight away and reserved it and then phoned me to get the payment. So I got the exclusive.
I think your perseverance in that deserves that you get to go alone.
Well, I would say the food, the park and the Fantasia packages didn't sell out. So they were available to the very end. Wow. Just the character one. But the character one sold out straight away.
Okay. We'll come back to this special celebration part.
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through the evening and let's build into this a little bit of strategy, because I do know from reading your partner's blog, the wonderful Queen Ursula, she's written a blog about everything. So I've got a little bit of knowledge about what you did.
Yeah, she's already blogged it all. So we turned up. The first event was at 8 o'clock. So we figured we were going to get let in just shortly beforehand. We got in queue in the line to get in about 5-ish, which got us actually quite near the front. There was a separate section for those people who had the exclusive packages. So we get in the queue, and it's quite a happy queue. Quite a lot of nervous people, as you can imagine, especially as we saw more and more people joining. The rumours that got running up to this was that it hadn't sold that well. It sold plenty well, because we just saw this queue get bigger and bigger and bigger to the point it was snaking along outside the studios and then was going down into the village. It was like, they've done okay on the ticket sales after all. We got let in just before 8. They cocked up the entry completely. The worst thing of the entire night is they completely cocked up the entrance. Rather than let people disperse throughout the park to the things they wanted to go to, they at 2 places penned everyone in after getting them through the turnstiles. That was completely due to Disney trying to pen people in to what they wanted them to see or go to, rather than just let everyone disperse naturally throughout the entire park from the beginning. But yeah, we got in, and once we were allowed in the park properly, we basically went from meet and greet to meet and greet. We tried to do Kronk first, but the queue for that was just massive and was going to be ages. So and Roger Rabbit walked past. So off I go after Roger Rabbit, as you can imagine. So we got Roger. We headed over to Toon Studios, where we got to see the Rescue Rangers, Tailspin characters, Goof Troop, and Darkwing Duck and Launchpad. We did the Dance with DuckTales parade twice, which was the tricycles rethemed into DuckTale mobiles with a big flash mob dance routine. We saw Max live once, which was a massive show on the stage that had been the stage that's normally there for Star Wars and stuff. Is decent size, but it's not massive. It must have been extended about 4 times as wide for this, and had a massive pit in front of it for flame effects and water effects and all kinds of stuff. We went over to the other side of the park and we managed to meet all the characters from Big Hero 6 and the Robinsons. The queues were quite long, so you were never going to get to do everyone. Anyone who thought they would just had expectations that were just far too big. So a lot of the cases, we saw people that we got to take pictures of, etc., but you couldn't actually meet and greet them because you just couldn't do that many queues. And at the end of the night, there was a massive sort of farewell parade, which had all the characters and a few of the floats from the Stars and Cars. So it was a bit like the April 12th parade again. So you got to see everybody then. So it was a pretty mega night. It really was. There was a couple of foul ups. I mean, the Heroes and Villains Alley was a complete mess in the way it was queuing and the operation of it. They had this alleyway that only so many people could be in at one time. The idea was that you go in, you meet your characters in there, and then you go up the other side of it and they let more people in, which in theory is good, other than the fact that people hang around in there for ages and even waited for the character changes. So because no one was leaving, no one could join.
Right. So if you was at the back of the queue, you had a very, very long wait.
There was huge waits for that, and people got sent away from it from after queuing for an hour, being told you're not going to get in. So that caused a lot of ill will, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
The Frozen characters, because they're so rare in Disneyland Paris, the wait for them was like 90 minutes to 2 hours. But compared to the 4 to 5 hours that used to the queue for Disneyland Paris for them, that's still not that long. But when you only got 6 hours at this party and you spend a third of it meeting 2 characters, You knew that when you got to there and saw the queue, to be honest. If you just then decided to sit in there and wait for that 2 hours, when it's obviously going to be a while, that's your choice.
Well, let's play devil's advocate. You were put in charge of the event. What would you have done different? Because you know your theme parks, Mark. You've been to Paris, you've been to California, you've been to Walt Disney World umpteen times.
Sure.
You know how things work. You've even been on the cruise line before. So you've seen Disney at its best and its worst. So what would you do if you were given Catherine Powell's job to go off and restructure for the next Fandaze event?
I think there's three obvious things. One would be change Villains Alley into a normal set of meet and greets, not a alley. The other would be don't try and pen everyone into the opening ceremony. Let's let the crowd disperse naturally. The turnstile automatically puts gaps in between people because there's only so far you can go through turnstiles. So to then bunch them up where you create a mob and then bunch them up again when you create another mob scene with people, rugby tackling each other, and apparently here's another thing. There was only 400 exclusive. There's 5 pins on sale, and they're all nearly 400. And you could buy 2 each. That meant basically the first 200 people there were going to get the pins, and no one else. Because if you got there and could get pins, you're going to buy 2 of each. Because what you don't get one for yourself, you'd easily sell to friends or eBay. So for an event with that many people, like 5,000-6,000 people, any 400 pins was a little bit measly.
Just a bit.
It should have been at least any 1,000, and probably 1 per person rather than 2 to give people somewhat of a chance. But I didn't even go near the pin, so it didn't bother me. I already knew that, quite frankly, if I wanted a pin that badly, it would be an eBay job for me.
Yeah. While we sort of briefly mentioned merchandise, I do gather that, as I was one of the many people who asked you this, I gather you bought a little bit of the merchandise yourself.
I may have done.
But can I just say that Mark has not bought any of this to sell on eBay. He's bought it that friends and family will have sort of said to him, Mark, would you mind? And he's, very kindly gone out of his way to clear up the Fandaze ears.
Yeah, so we got there on the Friday and everything was already on sale. And I think the only thing the T-shirts sold really well. And by the time of the party, there was only smalls and extra smalls left. But then I can't wear Disneyland Paris T-shirts anyway because they all shrink on me. And they're too small to start with. Even in extra large. The baseball caps all sold, and I think that's the weirder thing that all sold. I can only think they didn't have many of them because there's still lanyards left, there's still keyrings left, there's still plushes left, and there was still the ears left in the end because the ears did go out from everywhere, and then suddenly they came back en masse, and I was like, phew, because I bought quite a lot of them, and I thought people would ever go at me.
Well, no, because you've not bought them to resell, you've bought them for people to ask, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I'm very fortunate that my friend Tommy from Cruise Do's and IMDO Podcast, he quite frequently buys bits and pieces to send on to people, but not for profit, just to recoup the cost of what they cost.
Yeah. And most of the ones I got actually are for gifts. They're not even for getting any money back. My discount was greatly received that day, put it that way.
Yeah. Sorry, was there anything else that you was going to improve on? I sort of sidetracked us.
Improve the Villains Alley. Don't pen anyone in. And actually, the other thing is that, and they'd probably need more. I don't know, they need more cast for this or whatever. But there were sets of characters first thing, and then there was an 1.5 hour, 2 hour break in the middle, and then there were sets of characters again. So I think it was 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on of characters. I think I might be wrong. It might have been only an 1.5 hours off. I can't actually remember because everything was such a blur. I don't think they could afford to have that break in the middle. And whether that means extra cast or whatever, they need to be going. The characters need to be going, or some characters need to be going from start to finish.
Okay, that's a fair point. I totally agree.
They were per set. Each character was seeing about 100 people, which is a lot for 30 minutes or 20 minutes. So those extra 3 sets times 30 locations. So yeah. That would have made a lot. A lot of people would have come away meeting maybe 3, maybe 4 more characters if they'd filled that gap and been happier for it.
And that's what you always want to do, is to leave the customer, the guest, going away with that. Wow, I think that was value for money for the price that they paid.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think most people anyone who tried and wanted to meet characters probably met 12 to 15 characters, most of which are super rare, they've never met before.
So who was the rarest character that you got to meet?
That I got to meet? I don't know, because I met Roger Rabbit. He's never in the parks anymore. I met Darkwing Duck. He's never in the parks to meet normally.
I think he's an incredibly rare one because I've seen him out at Disneyland in California once on a special event.
Yeah. I met Clara Cluck. She's never out to meet normally. Launchpad used to be in DLP all the time, but isn't anymore. I met the Rescue Rangers in Rescue Rangers gear. You don't normally see Chip and Dale in that gear. I met Tailspin. You see Baloo and King Lou all the time, but not in their Tailspin gear. I met Goof Troop. And Max you can meet at bunches occasionally, but Goofy in his Goof Troop gear is very, very, very rare. And then I met Wasabi, Go-Go, Honey Lemon, and Fred from Big Hero 6, who are never in the parks. And I met Bowler Hat Guy, and I've forgotten the two kids' names from Meet the Robinsons. Wilbur and...
Okay.
It's going to bug me now. I met the three people from Meet the Robinsons. Yeah, these are so I don't think I met anyone there who is common. I mean, later on I met Mickey, Minnie, and all the VIPs, and Duffy and Shelley May in their Fandaze outfits as part of my package. Shelley May and Duffy are slightly different because they're a bit rarer. The others not so rare in who they are, but obviously in their special Fandaze gear. And I met most of them 3 times because I met them at brunch and at the pre-parade party. And then the next day I got to meet Oswald and Tensia in their gear because that was part of my package.
Okay, well let's move away from the actual ticketed event of Fandaze and go on to the special package that you paid for.
Okie dokie.
So when did it take place?
Everything was sort of spread out. So the package included 2 nights in the Santa Fe, park tickets, which obviously didn't need, but they included, a photo pass, which didn't need, but it's included, and tickets to the event, which comes with a lanyard and pin. And I'm just saying, this package was about £750. But straight away, 2 nights in the Santa Fe isn't cheap, and park tickets isn't cheap, and that photo pass worth €70. Even though we didn't need them, to anyone who didn't already have them all, that's quite good value. But as far as what the package included on top of the normal party ticket, we had the express entry because we had the red bands. That didn't mean anything in the end because the way Disney handled it. So that was useless. The first thing that was part of the actual event that was for us as a part of this package was 1 a.m. We went into Playhouse Disney, and in the foyer of Playhouse Disney there was Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Pluto, Donald, Daisy, Duffy, Shelley May, all in their Fandaze outfits.
Oh, wow.
We got some duos and we got group pictures with them. And there was about 37 of us. And we had 30 minutes. It was a bit rushed in the end because we was expecting it to be 16 people, and obviously that's twice as many. But we got nice pictures, and it was all good and fun, and we got some great group shots. We got what we needed. And then we came out of there and went and got a parade spot for the 2:00 parade. By the time we got pushed out of the park, quite literally, it must have been coming up on 3 a.m. because we loitered, took pictures of each other, took pictures with the backdrops, and every time we were sort of doing that, the security was slowly going, come on, move along. So we eventually got out to the front of Studio One in the front lot, and that's where the VIPs were meeting. So they had these big setup of the Fandaze logo on a blue back screen and everything, and we're all taking group pictures there. And security is giving us a couple of minutes, and they're going, "Come on," and we're going, "Okay." They eventually pushed us out the park. So by the time we got back to the hotel and sort of relaxed a little bit, because you're coming off this massive buzz from being there, obviously, it was probably 3:30 by the time we actually got to sleep. For anyone with the premium or exclusive package from the characters, there was an exclusive meet and greet back in the Playhouse Disney with just Mickey and Minnie this time the next morning. We were lucky in that we got given a 10:30 a.m. slot. Some people had the 8:30 a.m. slot for the premiums, so they didn't get much sleep. We did okay because to be over there for 10:30, I think we got up about 8:30, so we got 5 hours. But others, I feel sorry for the people who got the 8:30 slot. I think basically the premiums got the first slots and the exclusives got the later slots, but there you go. Then at 1 p.m. we had a brunch event in California Grill, so that's next door to Inventions.
Was this part of the package?
Yeah, all part of the package.
Oh, because I know that's a pricey lunch.
So next door in Inventions was the normal bunch was going. That was Icy Wonderland this time. Because that doesn't include any VIPs. It doesn't have to include any VIPs anyway, because we had all the VIPs. Yeah, you're normally looking at about 70, 80 euros for that bunch. Now, it wasn't quite as good in California Grill as it is in Inventions. I'll be completely honest. The food wasn't quite as good at all. But again, it was all the same characters from the meet and greet the night before in their Fandaze outfits. So we got more pictures with them one-on-ones and funny groups and just some more time for interaction because we didn't get to do much interaction with them the night before. Other than Mickey and Minnie, who we got loads of interaction with that morning, because I couldn't believe it that a lot of people, we had a half an hour slot, and I guess there was maybe 15 people tops that had that half an hour slot. And that's tops. A lot of people came in, got their picture and went.
What?
We hung out, let the people go, which took all of 10 minutes, and we had like 15 minutes of time with Mickey and Minnie taking pictures, having a laugh, having group shots.
That's fantastic.
So that was great. So anyway, so we had brunch, met all the characters again, and then it was back to the studios, because then we had our private meet and greet with Oswald and Hortensia. So that was Hortensia's first official meet and greet worldwide.
Wow.
And we had the first slot, so that was 3:00. And again, we had till 3:30, and people were coming and going, and we were just there. So I've got thousands of pictures of Hortensia, to be honest.
So big question is did you take one of your 9-inch Vinylmations for these characters to sign?
I did, but there was no signing at all at Fandaze.
Okay.
That was stated. I mean, what they stated was no signing at all. They would take 2 pictures with your own camera for you, and they would take 2 PhotoPass purchase pictures per place. In the end, the photographers took sometimes more than 2, not many more, but maybe 3 or 4 sometimes. Not extended poses, that's for sure. And obviously, people in queues also, they are taking pictures of characters as well with their own camera, so people were getting more pictures than they were supposed to, but it was fine for the most part. I don't think that was a major problem. But no autographs. And then I didn't even take the vinyl on Fandaze evening. I took the vinyl to Oswald and Hortensia just in case. Unfortunately, they weren't signing. But again, like saying about what the rare characters were, obviously Hortensia is probably the rarest character of all now, because she's literally she's only met in double digits of people in the world at this point.
Wow, massive honour.
Yeah, probably less than 50, to be honest. So to be in that, I mean, I guess cast met her and stuff at the event. But, you know how it is. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty exclusive and pretty awesome. And Oswald, to meet Oswald again, I haven't seen Oswald for a couple of years since I was last at DCA, so that's cool.
Okay. If Fandaze gets announced and it was going to be another character-driven event, or if it has as you've mentioned before at the beginning of the interview, maybe, food-driven event or whatever, would you be there?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Before the night was even over, I already tweeted out, I'd book this again in a heartbeat. Now, obviously, whether I put the same package again depends on if it's going to be the identical package. If it's still going to be Oswald and Hortensia the second day, or that sort of thing, then I'd have to have a slight second guess. It's like, do I want to pay all that for the same experience? And then here's another thing. When we booked it, we didn't know it was going to be Oswald and Hortensia. We just knew it was going to be 2 VIPs that had never been together before. That was the extent of the preamble and what you're booking on. So it was a bit shot in the dark. Okay.
The last bit that I'd like to sort of talk about is the amazing outfits that both you and Alyssa wore. Talk us through a little bit to explain, because I started hinting at this, but they are amazing. Go on, tell us.
So for Christmas, Liz got a sewing machine, and she's been practicing making shirts and dresses for me and her. When they announced Fandaze, they encouraged bounding and not full-on cosplay, although in the end full-on cosplay was allowed, but they encouraged bounding and stuff. And Liz wanted to bound, or at least, or semi-cosplay, not as Ursula, because Ursula was too cumbersome for an event like this. Oh, I did meet Catherine Power in the middle of all that as well, by the way, which was great. And I said no, that sport me. But the reason I said no was because, we've got all these pictures with these characters and these groups that are once-in-a-lifetime pictures, if that makes sense. We might never get to see these characters again. These could be, we could easily end up putting the picture of us and all the characters up on the wall or in a frame and having it out, that sort of thing. And when you look back in 2-3 years' time, do you want to look at that picture and go, it's amazing? Or do you want to be looking and going, I wish I wasn't wearing a fancy dress and looking so silly in it?
Good point.
So I put my foot down and said, no, we're not dressing up. It's fine if it's a brunch. I've got those pictures from me a couple of years ago at Halloween where I'm dressed as Roger Rabbit and I'm wearing floppy ears, and it's fine for those sort of pictures, but not the ones that you're going to put up forever and go, I wish I wasn't dressed up like an idiot. So I put the kibosh on fancy dress, and we came to the compromise that we would make Fandaze specific clothing to wear, fabrics, sort of thing. So I designed my fabric that she turned into a shirt for me. She designed her own fabric to make into a dress for her, so that it could be Fandazy, but without being tacky. I sort of took some inspiration from, the Art of Animation shirts that cast wear, where it's sort of sketchy. Yeah. I've always loved those shirts and never been able to find one on eBay for me. I sort of based mine on that, used the official blue, and I stole the Fandaze logo and made a sort of collage shirt of all the characters that had been announced or not announced, but some were announced, but some were rumoured. And I made a big collage of all these characters and the logo that was on a repeat sort of pattern. And Liz went for a Disney afternoon sort of vibe with Tailspin and DuckTales and Rescue Rangers, and she hand drew all the characters. And we both printed all this material, and she made her dress out of that, and I made my shirt. And Kathleen Power loved both of them when she saw us, and she thought this was very, very talented for her making skills, and obviously she was wearing ears as well. And then because I had this material and I needed something for the Sunday, out of what was left of my shirt material, Liz made herself a dress. And I used one of the online websites, and I had a T-shirt printed with my design all over it, so I could wear a T-shirt on the Sunday and a shirt for the Saturday. And yeah, they went down really, really well.
And we will share some pictures of that because you looked absolutely fantastic.
I think Liz actually made everything she wore that trip, because the night before she was wearing a Villains and Princesses duvet set that she turned into a dress, and the day after she was wearing a Donald Duck print that we ordered that to make a shirt for me out of. That ended up being a dress for her.
Fab, absolutely fab. And I'll link in where you can catch up with Liz to find out about all of this, because eventually I believe there's going to be a store and you're going to be able to buy bits and pieces.
That is the plan.
So we will share that once we know it.
But yeah, so many people stopped us asking where we got our stuff from.
It was amazing. You looked absolutely fab. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about Fandaze, but I can't let you go without giving yourself a big shout out on where people can find you and more about your fab podcast cum radio show.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm on everything pretty much as Fuse MP, FUSEMP. I bought a new camera. I treated myself for my birthday and bought a flashy DSLR camera. So ever since then, I've been using Instagram, because I've been actually taking photos that I'm going, oh, that's not bad, that is. Like you always see everyone's pictures and you go, I wish I could take pictures like that. Well, now I've got a camera that takes pictures like that. So I'm using Instagram now. So I'm on there, Twitter, Facebook, all Fuse MP, just find me on there. IMDO Podcast is what I do with Alyssa. It is a 4-hour normally radio show, live calling radio show. We play some Disney music. We have live call-ins for people to talk about anything Disney they wish. It often ends up being DLP orientated, but doesn't have to be by any means. We can talk about any park, we can talk about any movie, literally anything Disney. People call in on via Skype, and it's live. So Twitter's going along using the hashtag IMDO Podcast. And we have some fun. We do quizzes, we play games, which gets a bit funny. Yeah, we do anything. It's a laugh. And you can find it at imdopodcast.com or on iTunes, or yeah, that's us.
Absolutely fantastic stuff, Mr. P. Well, thank you so much for sparing some of your time, and I look forward to talking some more Disney with you very soon.
Thank you for having me.